evening, fight fans. Welcome to another great episode of Headkicks and Haymakers. I'm your host, Bodkins, and of course, joining with me is Mr. Bobby Blunts. Bobby, we got a jam-packed show. We got to talk. I mean, we'll go kind of. We got IFW to talk about, but the most important news is the saga is over, folks. On Saturday, the illustrious career of Jon Jones is over. In a weird press conference release of just Jon Jones called us. He's retired. Tom Aspinall is now the heavyweight champion, as Dana White was just asked, some random ass question at Baku after not such a great card. But, and then we get that, and then 24 hours later, we find out that Jon Jones is being charged by Albuquerque police and is got another run-in with the law. A lot to unpack, Bobby. I don't know where to start with this Jon Jones. I guess we'll start from Saturday first, and then we'll unpack this law enforcement thing. Your thoughts on the retirement of Jon Jones Bones, and, for some people, the GOAT.
Well, I know I quote Nate Diaz a lot on this show, but I'm not surprised, motherfuckers. I'm trying to tell you for months this shit was not happening. Do not care about the number that was agreed to. Oh, we gave it to him. The UFC has known for months that this bullshit was not happening. This legal thing happened in February. You mean to tell me they found out right after the event happened? For one, Dana White fed that question to that random reporter, and it was written, in my opinion, designed to cover up the stench of an inflated site fee for a car that fell flat on its face. But, we can get into all that, but immediate reaction, I am not surprised. Good riddance. It's about fucking time. Let's move on.
What's up, Rob? It really, I kind of agree with you. I think that they knew that a long time ago that he wasn't going to come back. And I think that you're right. How can we get this news off of like that Baku car? The crowd was awful. I get it was like 3-4 in the morning there. I get that
they left after the co-main event. It looked like the apex. I was dying of laughter.
Yeah, so maybe you're right. I kind of agree. Like, how did that lady? I get he kind of gets questions like that all the time, but like for it to be like Jon Jones retired, you know what I mean? Like, there's no like. I feel like they did Jones dirty, and maybe rightfully so, because he did them dirty, and I feel like they did, more importantly, I felt like they did Tom Aspinall 30. Like, why couldn't they, and I've heard Ariel kind of say this, and I kind of second it, like, why couldn't they have done Tom right? Like, brought him in, press conference, wrap the belt around him, like, he's our rightful champion. We're going to fight. We're working on a fight X, Y, and Z. Instead, like, he just kind of finds out in the middle of the night. Like, and I do believe he didn't know because his dad, the way his dad sounds, in interviews, who's his manager and coach, it said like we found out in the middle of the motherfucking night that he's the heavyweight champion. He calls me in the middle of the night, says I'm the heavyweight champion. Jon Jones is retired. So it's wild. I'm going to ask you this. To me, is the Jon Jones heavyweight experience, was that a failure?
I don't even acknowledge it.
So you would say it was a failure then, right?
I guess. It happened. The UFC milked some pay-per-view cards out of it to acknowledge it. I know when it happened in real time, it was real shocking to see Jones walk through Cyril Gane, but it wasn't because he walked through Cyril Gane. It was just more of a question of, well, Jones hasn't fought in how many years? Yeah. Is he still going to be the same guy? And he kind of showed that he did. But I got an answer to your question of why they just randomly didn't hear and didn't, present Tom Aspinall the week after. It's because there is nothing, and I mean nothing, that TKO or UFC can do to make this up to Tom. They wasted over a year of his career and pretty much did not care at all. They figured, hey, we can get that one last fight out of John Jones. And when they finally were pretty much pressured into making that decision, they said, hey, you know what better way to do it than now? And they'll try to justify it. And Dana already did it in the press conference saying, well, Tom's going to be in Vegas all next week. So we'll sit down and hash this out. But I mean, we know damn well the reason Andy Aspinall is upset is because that's not only his client, his one and only client, but that's his son. And most of the times, these managers will try to tread water for the organization. Not Andy. He will call a spade a fucking spade, which is exactly what I'm doing. This is nothing more than the TKO model. This has Mark Shapiro written all over it. This goes all the way back from when they were trying to re-sign Francis, and they said, hey, it doesn't matter because the biggest star in the UFC is those three letters, which is the UFC. So they can put the belt on some random guy, have Jones submit him in under a minute, and they can get back to business as usual. But guess what? John Jones got injured, and instead of being a real fucking company and pivoting and making an actual decision, they decided to take the long route and saying, hey, we can play this down the line. We can redo the Stipe fight. And that decision sole-handedly, and granted, hands up to me, I am to blame as well. Because I was saying Stipe and John deserve this fight. I am a fucking moron for suggesting that. Simple as that. They should have moved on because all they did was enable John to get a little bit more and push a little bit more to when they actually match his 30 million. He don't care. He can know they do a little bit more. And let's be real. That 30 million was he's entitled to 10 times that for the amount that they've made off his back in his 205 run, let alone 265. So I mean, everyone's saying egg on Dana's face, but like, let's be real. Have we really taken anything Dana says seriously in the last year, 2 years? He's got one foot out the door like he's playing hopscotch. And this, like, if anyone's to blame, I would say, hey, maybe Hunter Campbell, but, they knew the fire they were playing with, and they figured the worst case scenario is we just, rebook it, and we'll just do it all over again. Well, guess what? Tom didn't get a fight for over a year. I'm glad he was able to monetize and make money elsewhere with sponsorship deals. And, his popularity is rising, but the whole reason he was waiting for it is because now you look at the heavyweight division and Jesus Christ, that is rough.
Yeah, I'll get to the heavyweight division here in just a minute. I want to address some things on that. But I do think the John Jones experiment at heavyweight is a failure. It was a failure. And here's why. You did not fight. We did not get the two super fights that we needed or we wanted to see. He ran from Francis Ngannou, and then Francis, they couldn't get that deal done, and then he couldn't fight Tom Aspinall. I don't discredit the Stipe fight. What it didn't need, Bobby, was a title fight. It didn't need a title attached to it. It just needed John Jones versus Stipe Miocic, two legends finally going at it. That's all we needed. It didn't need the belt. When John Jones got hurt 2 years ago, when they were going to do the Stipe fight initially, they should have just stripped him then, gave Tom the title. When Jones comes back, hey, if you want to fight, you can fight for the title, or you can fight for Stipe, then fight for the title, or you can fight for the title right away. But we're going to keep this thing moving. John, we're going to let you decide who you want to fight first. Do you want to fight for the title, which would be Tom Aspinall later, or would you rather fight Stipe? But we're not going to keep keep you having the belt. We're going to keep this thing moving right along because we have a young up and coming. At that time, Tom Aspinall, a star. A star is going to be born, and he is. I do feel like Tom Aspinall is going to be a huge star because I think he's going to have a long, lengthy run at heavyweight. But so they should have just done Stipe versus Jones, no title needed. Like you telling me that you still wouldn't have tuned in at Madison Square Garden with the Jones Stipe fight? Yeah, we're all tuning in. It's two fucking legends. They didn't need a title attached to it. It's like WWE. They're like Goldberg is fucking back, and they're like, you know what? Goldberg's got to fight for the title his last fucking match. No, the fuck he don't. It's Goldberg. Just let him fucking wrestle whoever the fuck he wants to wrestle. You know what I mean? So it's simple. They didn't need a title attached to it. So you know, that's exactly. And Rob's saying it here. It's like I'm saying exactly why all of this is a UFC issue. He gets the John Jones duck thing, but he just played the UFC for years. Yeah, and they knew that, and they knew who they were dealing with. John Jones has been who John Jones was for decades. He's shown the UFC who he is for decades, and Dana White will tell you he's a pain in the ass to fucking deal with in negotiations. Well, guess what? They offered him the $30 million. He still said no. And then guess what? You know what, Dana, you promised that we were going to get the fight. We didn't get it. This has been, to me, so far, 2025 has been the year of the fights we didn't get. We didn't get Islam versus Ilya, and we'll talk about that later because that obviously it circles around this weekend. We're not going to get the John Jones versus Tom Aspinall fight, and at the beginning of the year, those were the two biggest fights. The only thing that they could change this now is if Alex Pereira fights Tom Aspinall for the heavyweight title. That's bigger than John Jones versus Tom Aspinall because you have two guys in their fucking prime fighting for the heavyweight title. But I want to address the before we get into the John Jones legal thing here, or we could just go into that. Go ahead.
Because the one thing I want to be very firm with is though John is extremely to blame, this is all on TKO. And notice I'm saying TKO, not the UFC. Like this is their pretty much plan. You mentioned wrestling in Saudi Arabia. It's the same type of playbook of, hey, we know that we're going to get people to, come in and we can build whatever they want. And you're right. They didn't need to put the title on it. I'm assuming that they thought that Jones would have probably just retired if they took it from him. I think he would have probably just came back for the same payday. The bigger problem is the only way the UFC can justify giving John that type of coin is if they had this title on him. And so again, I solely blame TKO for this not happening, even though obviously John did not make it easy in any way.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of, how it's going to be from now on, in my opinion. And like you said, the only fight that we're getting that's like a big fight that's promised, and I'm probably the only one that has it in this category. I'm not sure about you, but Dricus versus Chimaev. That to me has been the most anticipated fight ever since.
Bobby, hold your fucking breath. Don't hold your breath on that fight either. You know what I mean? Until Chimaev enters the octagon in Chicago, we don't know.
You know but I would have said the same thing if they actually signed Tom versus John. I would have been like, yep, until they are in the cage, I'm not counting my chickens.
Yeah. Rob here wants to know, I know everyone says none of this matters, crap cards, Apex, crap divisions, Jones fiasco, but at some point, cracks are going to start forming. Can a company rise from the ashes of the past? I don't think so. The UFC is just miles ahead of everybody, media-wise, market-wise. Can there be a solid number two, like an AEW to WWE? Yes, but at the end of the day, the UFC is just miles ahead of everybody. They're a machine at this point in time.
Their new rights deal is going to be multiple broadcasters, and it's going to be billions, as in B, not millions. So, I mean, it's the bigger question to me is I know the PFL's contract is coming up at the end of the year with ESPN. Like, will PFL allow their new broadcast partner to kind of have some stakes in it? Because that's kind of low key what the UFC's been doing, farming out the pay-per-views to ESPN Plus, and it's kind of responsible for some of these lackluster pay-per-views we're getting. But we're not to quote Dana White, but we'll just have to see how it all plays out once the new rights deal's up, and where PFL goes from there.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on the John Jones criminal thing real fast. It was reported out, Sunday morning, so less than 24 hours, that he had this thing in February where he was left the scene of an accident that he was driving, a half-naked girl. She said that her and Jones were doing shrooms. I mean, if you've listened to the tape, obviously he never identifies himself as John Jones, but I'm no fucking expert, but it sounds just like John Jones. Then you find out, oh yeah, the same day, the same night, there was a weird, he went IG live as he's walking. So then you find out that the phone records can, link up as well. This is John Jones 101 playbook. Leave the UFC, or there's always some law trouble. UFC he'll come back. Let Tom, maybe Tom will fight a few guys here, and then John Jones comes back to help pay for these legal issues. I don't know. It seems like that's kind of his playbook. But your thought here on that, John Jones legal troubles?
Well, for one, I know you didn't, necessarily ask me what his legacy is, but his legacy will be that he is the greatest of all time at self-sabotage. Legitimately. He is now lost.
Him and Conor. Conor McGregor, right?
Conor ain't got shit on John Jones. I'm sorry. There are levels to this game of fucking up. And John Jones has that GOAT belt secure. He not only got the title taken off him once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times without even losing. Nobody is ever going to do that again. Like, legitimately, that is, and I'm not trying to make this all about me, smashing John Jones and stuff, but like, this is literally become the boy that cried wolf quite a while ago. Like, he was, spazzing out on Twitter this morning, kind of reacting to it, not dealing with the news good. And, I had this opinion before the legal situation came out, but I'm just grateful that this is over. And I no longer have to care about what this guy is doing, because it's irrelevant to me now because he's out of the sport. I know there are some places that will want to clickbait the thumbnail of him getting pulled over by the police years ago and trying to make it act like it's this incident. Do what you got to do. I'm not hating, but we got what we wanted. He's gone. We may have not gotten the fight, but at least the division can move on. And to all the people that are saying, well, the division cannot survive now without John Jones, I'm sorry. I've been watching this man since before he came into the octagon. How can you be telling me that in his last 2 fights that I get the number argument, but if you're trying to tell me that his activity is what has been keeping the division going, you are smoking crack. He has fought twice at heavyweight in the last 4 years, and it's been a combined a 10 minutes. The division will move on, mainly because the sport will move on, because that's how the UFC has kind of catered it to. And John Jones was the last star that has a bigger brand than the UFC, which is why I thought it was so essential to get this done. But then we got Mark Shapiro just pissing in our face and saying, nah, you don't deserve this. We'll tell you we gave you the $30 million, but we'll just, completely smoking. So what was the original question you asked me? I completely forgot my rant. I apologize.
I don't know. You're fired up. I love it, Bobby.
This is just absurd that people are still trying to hold on to the, once he gets his legal situation settled, he's going to come back. And, maybe he will. I'll tell you one thing. The only way Tom Aspinall will fight him is if Tom Aspinall becomes a cop for Albuquerque police. Other than that, that fight is not happening.
So
What did Rob say?
Rob's saying John will be back like a staph infection at a Dagestan wrestling gym. I do think John will be back. I think Tom will win a few. I want to hear a lot of people, including our friend Rob, there is shitting on this heavyweight division. And I want to make it very clear. Like the division is not thick, but that is not very it's not packed. I know that. It's not littered with a bunch of great names. I know that as well. That's MMA in general. Look around the MMA world. There's not a lot of great heavyweights. First of all, as somebody who walks around myself at 6'4", 250 fucking pounds, I'm not signing up to fucking go get my face punched in by a lot of these motherfuckers. And there's a lot of people who do that sentiment. We're talking about the biggest, baddest dudes in the world. So, and we're talking about, so when you get to that 1% where you're the heavyweight champions, you're talking about elite level, especially in Tom Aspinall or, a John Jones, elite level athletes. I'm not signing up. Sorry. And most of those guys, 6'4", 250 guys, are playing football or basketball and everything else where they're making a hell of a lot more motherfucking money. But I digress. Here's how things will change for the heavyweight division. Number one, there'll be movement because I do believe Tom Aspinall will fight guys whoever up and down. Hell, he could probably clear out the division in 3 years, I think, if they fight. If he's as active and he stays as healthy as he can be. I think he's that damn good. And he will build his name off of, his name will become a star because he will be eventually be the longest tenured heavyweight champion in UFC history. You only have to defend it 3 fucking times, and right now I think he can do that. If you count the Blades fight, shit, he only needs 2 more times.
He's already got 1 ruby in my book. I don't give a fuck what the UFC says.
So there's that. Here's how I would fix it. First of all, I would run I would have 2 or 3 contender series of whatever you could do for Dana White and make it all heavyweights. You gotta build up the division. And number 2, get rid of. Here's an idea. It's heavyweight. Get rid of a weight limit. Why is there a weight limit at heavyweight? Let these motherfuckers get as big and as bad as possible and fight. Who cares? Why is there a weight limit at heavyweight? There shouldn't be a weight limit at heavyweight. There shouldn't be. It's heavyweight for a reason. You should be able to fight at 300 fucking pounds if you're at heavyweight. That's a heavyweight. There should not be a limit. You should not ask a guy to cut down to 265. Let him walk around and fight whatever he fights at. Then guess what? You might have some 205ers go up and say, I'm not cutting to 205. I can fight at heavyweight. I'll beat them fat fuckers up. So get rid of the 265 weight limit, and I think the heavyweight will be a little bit better. That's how I would fix it.
And again, we're acting like, or we're not acting, but like what you hear, people are treating this like it's his run at 205. It is the furthest thing from that. The John Jones at 205, he would have balked at Tom Aspinall and immediately taken the fight. And, I get it. Older in the tooth. Why is he going to risk taking a loss? But, the copy and pasting of trying to recreate that reign at 205, that's been dead for years. Like, we're never getting that. The best thing we could have got was for him to have this one more fight.
True.
And he didn't even get that. So It is what it is. And I'm washing my hands of him just like the UFC washed their hands of him on Saturday night.
Let me ask you this. Is John Jones, because you said he is the GOAT of self-sabotage.
Yes.
You know who I thought of? And here we are 30 years later. Everybody loves the man and they adore him. He is Mike Tyson of the UFC.
Yeah, that's a pretty wild comp, but it's really hard to disagree when you look at especially, the issues and stuff.
I mean, the only thing Jones didn't do, Jones didn't go to prison. Like, Tyson spent time in prison. And like Jones has been to jail a bunch of times, but never served actual prison time.
Yeah, and the coddling and sweeping everything under the rug, whether it's his manager, local cops, whatever. It's enabled to us at this point. And the one thing I'd fear is what's life after fighting for John. Because like you said, everyone was like freaking out about the audio. I have a feeling he threatens someone every day. So, like, granted, it's probably not a police officer, but, you know, he's always going to kind of have that killer mentality and stuff. But, like, you could tell he was 3 sheets to the wind when
you had commented on Twitter, and I had commented on Twitter. Is that old video of him and, you know, Rogan, and it's DC and Jones, and DC's just really talking about kind of how vile human John Jones is. And here we are a decade later. It's still the truth.
Yeah. And like, again, I've said this multiple times and caught shit for it. You know, these guys get locked into the cage. You know, they get beaten up for a living. I'm not expecting him to be like a good Samaritan. But then again, I'm not trying to like paint a black eye on the sport. There are good guys on this sport. And then there are other guys that get a short notice fight, but then it gets canceled because they can't get their ankle monitor off. Yes, I'm talking about you, Mr. Dumbass. And, you know, legitimately, the UFC would have been more than happy to have the judge grant this guy an ankle monitor to be off because they can just pay him 10 and 10. And, you know, I am a hypocrite because I consistently watch it and enjoy it. But, like, I watch it and enjoy it because of the sport. If it was all for the bells and whistles and stuff, I would have been out decades ago. But, you know, I value what I, like, watch on television. But that is the main reason I just never thought this was realistically happening. You could tell by how he was saying in the Stipe interviews and everything on that fight week, he had no interest in fighting Tom. And the whole fuck you money thing was just really a soundbite to be like, to really give TKO a get out of jail free card, to be like, well, at least we offered him this money, so it isn't on us. I ain't that fucking stupid. It is clearly on you, TKO.
I think it's on both. It's to me, it's on both. I think you know what I mean. Like if they did come, what we're hearing, and they did come with a $30 million, and he, you know, accepted the fight and then said no, never mind. That's kind of on John. Because I never would have thought that he would have got the fuck you money.
Yeah, but at the same time, so now he's retired, and now he's able to collect from the lawsuit. He's going to make like 6.5 to 7 million literally doing Nathan. So
and plus the, you know, the Russian, they offered him to go out to Thailand and do all that stuff. So I'm pretty sure.
And like if that wasn't a red flag enough, you mentioned the IG video that we saw months ago. That was one of the main things. I remember I came on the Wednesday after, and like, this fight is not happening. I'm taking him out of my pound for pound list. He is retired, in my opinion. And I get the fan sentiment of nostalgia, because a lot of us that have been around for a long time, we cling on to that. But I'm sorry, it is so over. And I am so happy it's over, because now we can move on and bring in the new and get guys that will actually deserve and defend the title. Like, could you imagine trying to deny Tom the opportunity when he is the clearly only one available? And, you know, it's just bad. Like, yeah, if you want to pivot and try to say he called out Poten or he's looking at Francis again, that's all just more smoke for him to skeet out the door. And was it unceremonious? Sure. Was it very fitting for how his career went? Absolutely.
Like you said, four times that you know, he had to relinquish the belt, whether it was voluntarily or, you know, voluntold.
And I will always cherish that run at 205 when he came up. He fought Shogun on short notice when it was supposed to be, you know, he pretty much took Rashad's spot. And like, could you imagine if Shogun told him, "Oh, nah, I'm good."
Right.
You haven't proven anything.
He didn't pay it forward. I think that's the thing. And he kept saying, well, you know, there's always going to be the next guy. Well, I mean, in he's somewhat right. There will always be somebody eventually that you have to fight. But it seemed like at heavyweight, there was one guy. There's two guys that you didn't fight that we wanted you to see you fight. One guy is no longer in the promotion in Francis, and the other guy is still in and was the interim heavyweight champion, and you didn't fight him. And like I said, I think that John Jones' heavyweight experiment was a failure.
And like you said perfectly there, like how do I say this kindly?
Like William said, you leave the ladder down for the next guy. That's how the sport continues.
But like, if he's not willing to pay it forward for the sport, why the fuck should I glazing him? You know, you're retired. Good job. Fuck you. Goodbye.
The only part I will take TKO blame, because I do believe once John Jones said he was out months ago, they should have just moved on then.
Yeah.
They should have moved on then.
Dana treated it like the Khabib situation.
Yeah, you made that connection about months ago as well.
And like, this is the difference. Like, I don't care of the amount of fights. Khabib did it right. He retired in his prime, walked away, could have very easily done more. And he said, no, there's nothing more important to me than sticking to my word. Then you got
GSP
people
too. GSP at the same, GSP, similar situation. You know what I mean? Retired. Didn't hold up.
Personally, I don't put John and GSP in the same boat, because GSP is a far better person. But when it comes to how they played that shit, nah, fuck him too. You literally had him lose a fight to Johnny Hendricks. Granted, the judges said he won.
I remember that fight.
He pulled out of the sport, and then he waited for the worst middleweight champion in the history of the sport to fight a one-eyed man, and came back, had no interest at all in defending the title. He just won it for his accolades. So yeah, I'm sorry. GSP, John Jones, you ain't my goat. Khabib is.
Woo! What about Mighty Mouse?
Mighty Mouse has a discussion compared to GSP and John Jones. But like and I don't mean to shit on George, but like the instant goalpost moving that I saw when Jones retired, and they're like, oh, well, this is why GSP's the GOAT. Do you think I started watching the sport 2 years ago?
I remember that Johnny Hendricks fight, because I thought I specifically thought Johnny Hendricks won that fight.
And like I know that GSP had health issues and had other stuff going on, and that is what
I think what people are trying to say is like GSP at least didn't he won the fight, or won or lost that Hendricks fight.
He didn't hold up the division for a year. Yeah, I'll concede to that easily.
Yeah,
but to act like
I'm out.
Yeah, and it was good on George to do that, but I'm sorry, George, you probably should have just called it quits there. But why didn't he? Because he wanted to get that bad taste out of his mouth of the Johnny Hendricks fight. So, that's why I just have a utmost amount of respect for Khabib. Because in my opinion, he just did it right. He said he was done in his prime, and he never looked back.
Yeah. You're right. I mean, to that point, you're on the money. Like, and he, he's been throwing a shit ton of money, at one point or another.
Yeah, and he is continuing to. We're talking about pay it forward. He's continuing to pay it forward in the sport. I mean, look at Islam. That's his protege. He has other people coming into it.
Rob says GSP is a greasing, cheating clown. So there's that.
We're on Twitter. I'd retweet that, Rob.
So, shout out. We'll see what happens. I think it's probably going to be, the world's going to lose their minds when it's Surreal gone. Probably voted for, to take on Tom Aspinall.
I accepted it months ago.
Yeah.
Like, if I had a vote.
Here's the thing is, like, Surreal, Yeah, he probably didn't beat Volkov. Like that was another fight that he probably lost, and Volkov won. But here's the thing: let Tom beat him. Let Tom. This, people are like, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. Throw him into fucking Tom. Let Tom whoop his ass real quick, and then we move forward. That's it.
See, if I could pick one fight that is currently at heavyweight, I would go Jaltin Almeida 10 times over John, or oh God, I can't get his over Gone. And
yeah.
It's this simple.
I really think that if they want to make the big splash and kind of make up for the not getting to John Jones, it's Alex. It's Poton versus Aspinall.
I mean, that's what I said to Rob, I think 3-4 weeks ago when he, asked us that question in the chat. And like, that is the only way to kind of give him a big moment and all that. But at the same time, I understand the argument too of why are we doing these undeserved title shots right now? That fight isn't going anywhere. But like, I'd have no issue of it for just making it up to Tom. But like, stylistically, the Almeida fight is so much more intriguing to me. You can't sell me on the Gane fight. Gane literally had Francis Ngannou on his back. And instead of going to half guard, he went for a fucking ankle pick. What do you think Tom Aspinall is going to do to him?
I agree.
He's going to submit him faster than John Jones.
That's why I said feed him to Tom, and then we just get on with it. Then he can go make movies for the rest of his life because like that's it. That's it.
I hope they book it before MSG, just because what's the point of having Tom come all the way over to MSG?
There's talking about Tom said he wants to do Abu Dhabi. And Islam has said he wants to headline MSG.
So like Islam is literally solving all of our problems for this. I said it before that I thought Islam JDM was going to happen in the States just for the pay-per-view market. They weren't going to surrender that fight to a site fee, but you can book Tom Aspinall against Gane, God, it just sounds terrible saying, but you can book Tom against whoever for the co-main, and then you can do Poton and Ankalaev. And, the only reason I would say do it first is like, what will the appetite be when Ankalaev gives Poton his second loss? But then maybe that's just more writing on the wall for Poton to go up to heavyweight.
Maybe. Yeah, it'll be interesting what happens there. We've been talking a little bit about Islam, and to me, Bobby, like, here we are, International Fight Week. Rob actually kind of posted a good question. It doesn't seem like this International Fight Week has a lot of hype. We both kind of said, TKO. We blame TKO. I kind of said, like, to me, we're not getting the Ilya versus Islam fight, so that took a little luster off of this card. And Charles is absolute dog. I mean, he's a bona fide future Hall of Famer. We know that. He is 2-2 in his last 4. But here we are, International Fight Week. Does this card seem to me, and I've said this, like, International Fight Week is supposed to be the Super Bowl of the UFC, right? So to me, you're supposed to get like the best of the best. And I don't feel like we're getting that. And I don't feel like we got that last year, but I think I credit it partly because like you just had UFC 300 a couple months prior to that. So you put all your dynamite in UFC 300 this year. There's no excuse. And I feel like the card as a whole, like if it wasn't like, if this was just UFC 314 and not International Fight Week, I'm like, yeah, it's a pretty good card. But to me, IFW is supposed to be like the week, right? Like the card of the year. And I don't feel like we're getting that.
I mean, personally, if you break down the entire main card, on paper, I think there is an argument that it is the best card of the year. They've always done, they do the entire week of it. That's why it's International Fight Week. So granted, a lot of that stuff we won't see.
He did, Rob.
Yeah, exactly. But like to Rob's point right there, imagine if we got that piece of shit fight. Like we're trying to act like, oh Lord, like that would have like, ooh, it would have been so bad.
The International Fight Week was supposed to was supposed to be Chandler versus Connor, and then the co-main was like it was fucking tricky too. Like it went through like 3 different things last year as well. So
yeah, but like you said it earlier, like 300
yeah,
broke a lot of people's minds for this because like they're always, granted the main event was lackluster with like how it was hyped up for months and months, and they finally announced it, and that felt like a throwaway. But when you build a card that is stacked and a pay-per-view quality from the prelims, first fight, all the way up to the main card, what are you going to do? You're going to set up for buyer's remorse for every other card, which is essentially what they've done. And I mean, like I said, on paper, I'm pretty pumped for this card. Was I kind of bummed out that we didn't get Islam Ilya? Sure. But at the same time, I don't want to sell JDM short. With the performance he had, I'm, just as hyped to see Islam versus JDM. I know it. The only part that I disliked of that whole thing playing out was them stripping Islam of the title. That felt very unceremonious.
Yeah.
Granted, they did it with Dana doing a selfie video instead of, doing it from a press conference in Baku. But, it's, I don't know. Like, I personally am pretty pumped on that. It was a little bit there. Like, maybe I got a little bit more hyped up when they, put Joshua Van on the card. But, like, before Van got pulled off it, I was pretty excited for Royval versus Kate. And, UFC landed on their feet, booking Van there. But like I could absolutely understand the argument for like why it doesn't feel like the mega. But I think at a big time, it just kind of goes to the lackluster 2025 that they've put on.
Yeah, I think the January card, actually, if I look back, like in January, that card was better than this card. It was supposed to be, right? And then obviously Armin got taken out, but that card was supposed to be pretty good. But I just feel like it's just missing something. And I kind of agree with Knuckles here. He says he feels like the MSG has low-key taken over. Yeah, I usually like MSG usually has like 3 title fights or like 2 title fights, and like is usually like really built as kind of like that mega card, the November card at MSG. So I kind of agree with him there. Bobby, let's kind of look at
that's what a site fee gets you, because I have W's in Vegas.
Yeah. Let's look at this just kind of at the prelims here. It's pretty decent prelims. You got RoboCop and Jack Hermanson. RoboCop making his second attempt trying to get into the rankings here. RoboCop's a pretty decent favorite at minus 225. You got Tracy Cortez versus Vivian Arregio. Terrence McKinney, always kill or be killed. His fights. Bet the under and bet the it doesn't go the distance in Terrence McKinney fight. Then you got Nico Price and Jacob Smith. Jacob Smith being the highest betting favorite here at minus 3,000, Bobby, on this card. What appetite here are you biting into on these prelims?
The most intriguing to me is probably RoboCop and Hermanson, because RoboCop like struggled when he got his Apex main event.
Yeah,
and Hermanson is an equally difficult test. He had success against Pfeiffer, so that one probably has my attention. And then, ironically, the one that really had my attention got elevated to the main card because you had Talbot versus. Is it Lima there?
Yeah, Lima. Yep.
Yeah, and that one, and once again, like I don't know if they listened to online backlash. I'm guessing they just needed a fight because like I will not even acknowledge that we lost the Paulo Costa fight. Like, good riddance. I'll catch you next month, and I'll be bitching about it then too. Don't worry. But you talk about the one dude being a huge favorite. It's pretty ironic to see that, and then to also see Peyton Talbot now being the underdog. And granted, I think it's valid that he's the underdog because he's got a tough task ahead of him. But that line is pretty wild because it's signifying to you that it's not going to be a fight. And I actually think it will be entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, I think Nico Price, when he got knocked out by Robbie Lawler in his last fight, so I just don't think, I think that's kind of memorable. People, man, to be a minus, 3,000 is insane. So
numbers probably just going to grow too.
Yeah. So we'll see. I'm like you. I'm interested in. I just like RoboCop. I really do, and I like Jack Hermanson as well. Just polar opposite styles. We know Jack wants to bring you down and wrestle you, and we know RoboCop wants to kind of stand and bang, and he's always tough. You're right though. Like, remember, I think it was Jared Cannonier was that main event that he lost, and it just seemed like, in the later rounds, like Cannonier just wore him out. And luckily this is, he doesn't have to worry about the later rounds now. It's just a 3-round fight. But there does seem to be some cardio issues maybe with RoboCop as he, if he can get past Jack and then back into some main events, he's going to have to fix that. But he's always in some exciting fights. So I like both guys. And I think that's going to be, kind of like there's a reason that's kind of the prelim feature, I guess you would say.
Yeah, and we've seen it before with Jack. He's great at being able to drop around and then come back and win the next two or even get the finish. So, easy decision to have that take us into the pay-per-view for sure.
Yeah, Jack is his last 5. He's one loss. So, like, he's rotating here. And we haven't seen him, since February of last year in that Joe Pyfer fight. So, now he's back and, veteran in the game. I like both of those guys. I really do. I mean, Hermanson's 37 years old, Bobby. Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, I know. It is.
And wild. How old's RoboCop?
He's 33.
Wow. Damn, he does not look his age at all. He's probably the shaved head. But, I mean, that I think that's, still going to be fireworks. But, like, RoboCop was on, like, quite a tear before.
He was on a 3-fight win streak before Cannonier.
Yeah, so, I mean,
that's a big jump. That's a big jump. Like, he went he went from Duncan to Jared Cannonier. So you really went from unranked to like a top 5 middleweight. So that was a huge jump. I think he'll learn.
Model, baby, get in the apex. Give us all 5 rounds.
That's the middleweight special. The apex, baby. Let's get into the main card. You mentioned it, Peyton Talbot, coming off his first loss, and he's back, and he's taking on Felipe, who is the absolute Felipe Lima. I'm sorry, 14-1. Lima's the favorite here at minus 190. Peyton Talbot went from a huge favorite in that loss to the dog at plus 190. Your thoughts here as these two young and up and coming bantamweights go at it?
It's going to be good to see Peyton again. However, I can't say I disagree with the line, especially in Peyton's last fight when he lost. He just showed really no ability to be able to get up from bottom position. And, if you can't do that against Lima, it's going to be a long night. So, I'm not trying to write the kid off early or anything. He can definitely get better and improve. But this matchmaking by the UFC is dirty work. It's almost like they're saying, hey, we saw where you struggled, so here's an even more difficult opponent. Let's see how you do with this. And, credit, if I look at it half full, if Peyton can actually get the victory, he can like regain a lot of that hype, because I think a lot of people are counting him out from his grappling or lack thereof in the last fight. So they're kind of playing a dangerous game of trying to reignite the lightning in a bottle. But if he can't get this one, and keep in mind they had this buried on the prelims originally.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was kind of whenever the UFC is doing that, it's kind of a hint of them thinking, oh, this can be, a 15-minute fight of a guy not being able to get back up and just kind of getting dominated. So I'm glad he got the elevation, because, I do think he can be a star, but I just don't know if this is enough time to get that type of win back for an opponent like Lima. So, I'm going to have to pick Lima here. I'll definitely be rooting for Peyton, but for the gavel, I'll probably have to go Lima.
Yeah, real quick, Rob says, what, no love for the absolute guaranteed best fight on the prelims, heavyweight Diaz and Hines. It might be the best fight on the
I see
fight
what you're doing there, Rob. Well done.
It might be it might be the best fight on the prelims. Hell, it might be the best fight on the damn card, Rob. We don't know. Speaking of that, Hines making his UFC debut, so maybe we're going to get some new blood, new freshness into these heavyweight rankings for somebody to take on Tom Aspinall. Two young up-and-coming heavyweights, 34-year-old and a 33-year-old. One is Hines is, again, making his UFC debut. He's 7-0, baby. And he's taking on Denines, who is 9-1. Denines is the favorite. He is coming off a TKO loss against Tybura, so that's not he is 9-1, but losing to Tybura, no shame in that, losing to a veteran. So we got two young up-and-coming heavyweights, two hungry guys who are going to be looking for knockout of the night, and they could be could be fight of the night. Definitely watch out for that fight. Both guys could be getting that bonus, baby. So there's your heavyweight talk for you, Rob. You can always catch heavyweight talk right here, because I don't discriminate. I still think heavyweights are the best, one of the best divisions in all of UFC and all the world, baby. Us big guys will fight together. You can always catch it right here at Headkicks and Haymakers. We don't discriminate. We don't go to the bathroom during heavyweight fights. We stick and watch, baby, because we believe all fights fucking matter.
Touche on that one, Rob. I'll make sure to jump in the space on Saturday for that fight.
Let's get it back. So the Talbot fight, the Talbot and fight.
Epic promo, too. I wish Dana White had that much passion still.
Well, I mean, if he wants to hire me, you know what I mean? I am free, and available for a low cost of probably just, give me $2,000 more than what I make right now, and we'll call it good. So, and let me get into the fights for free. We're good there. Anyway, you're right. And they're not doing Peyton Talbot any favors. It's like once he lost, they're like, let's just feed this kid to some killers in Lima here. I kind of find it funny. You know what I mean? So it's, to me, I look at it as like, man, what are they going to do with Bo Nickel next? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like they viewed them as the same, right? These two young and up and coming, like, we can build these guys into up and coming stars. They're young. They didn't really, they didn't do that really with, remember when Raul Rojas lost? They didn't really give him like another killer like that right away. They're slowly building him back up after his loss. It's interesting.
They got that Nochi card to appease.
They're like, we need this guy around. And he came up with the nice catchphrase "Chewie." So they're like, all right, he's marketable. We can't kill him off yet. Maybe they don't feel that about Peyton Talbot anymore. I'd hate to see the kid lose 2 in a row, though. I really would.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's the TKO model, sink or swim. Like, we realized, oh, you're this, let's see if you can fight out of it. And, sometimes iron sharpens iron, and you get a star out of it. Other times, you can go on these multiple losing skids, and it's tough to get back there. So, like I said, I'm not trying to, count him out at all. But what do we got here, Rob?
Yeah, Rob's kind of saying maybe he's right.
My
Let's
God.
not pretend that butt vape video and home videos with Frank Ocean hasn't changed UFC's opinion on talent. That's probably true. That's what I mean. I think they might have soured on him, Rob. Yeah, maybe it is the butt vape and the Frank Ocean stuff. So
Rob bringing some elite callbacks.
yeah. That I'm kind of with you, Bobby. I'm riding with Lima here. So I hate to see the kid lose 2 in a row. I'm gonna root for Talbot, but my money's on. I'm gonna ride with
Yeah,
Lima.
and like Lima is also on a tear and can definitely be someone in this division. So
Yeah,
I'm not trying to like not give him his flowers at all, but it not the most favorable matchmaking. That's the last thing I'll say on it.
Yeah, definitely. Let's get into the next one. We were supposed to see this fight in January. It is 2 lightweights going at it. It's Beneil Dariush, 22-6. He's a minus. These fights is even. They're both minus 110 here. Taking on Money Moicano, 20-6. Remember back in January they were supposed to fight. Arman pulls out. Money steps in on 24 notice to fight Islam. That fight went how we all thought it was going to go on a 24-hour notice when you fight Islam. They rebook this fight, and we're getting it 6 months later down the road. Your thoughts here on 2 lightweights? Dariush on a 2-fight skid before Money lost to Islam, which a loss on the record, but I don't really consider it a loss when you're fighting Islam on 24-hour notice. Had won 4 in a row prior to that, and really was kind of building himself to kind of be a player here at 155. Your thoughts here?
It's crazy to think that was Islam's last fight at 155 too.
Yeah.
And it was just over like that. And back in January, I was pretty excited for this fight. Stylistically, I think they match up really well. I know Cross picked Benny in fantasy, so that's why the cheerleading's there. And there's nothing wrong with that. Root for your guy. I kind of view this as a 50-50 fight. It would not shock me at all if it turned into a 15-minute striking affair because they both kind of cancel each other out on the ground. But this is kind of one that I hope it does go to the ground because I would prefer to see these guys doing what they're best at opposed to, them just standing and kickboxing for 15 minutes. But, my main thought on it is because like originally before there was all that switch up and stuff, I picked Moicano to win, just thinking, hey, he's too focused. He doesn't want half his check. He, as he says, he can't afford to lose. The one thing that's kind of
now he can probably afford to lose, Bobby. He could probably afford to lose. I'm pretty sure he got the money.
Well, I mean, they definitely gave him plenty of money for taking Islam on 24-hour notice. And, credit to him for doing that. There are not many fighters that will do that. They say they will, but, only one guy answered the call, back in January there. But, the main thing in the back of my head is, will that demoralizing loss to Islam stick with him? Because he was somewhat fast tracked on 24-hour notice, but is that going to play in the back of his mind? I had my title shot and I just did not, there was really nothing I can do. I really don't think it will because especially now that Islam has left the division, it kind of paints a clearer picture for him if he could ever get back. But I think I just favor Moicano's striking a tad bit more, and that's where I expect a lot of this fight to unfold. But I'm not trying to sell Dariush short at all. Like, he could absolutely get the victory here. But if you're making me pick, which I know you do, I think I'm going to have to go with Money Moicano.
Yeah, this is what I think of Mr. Boring Benil when he fights. The guy has no personality, no nothing. No, nothing. There's not one thing I find appealing about Boring Benil Dariush. He can't cut a promo. At least Money Moicano, at least when he wins, you know you're going to get some fun shit at the end. He's going to cut a nice promo. He's going to talk some shit. I like it. You know what I mean? And Dariush is just like, he was on a nice win streak, and then guess what? He got to elite level company, and we realized he's not that guy. And I'm not saying Moicano's that guy, but and like you said, I don't think either one guy wants to go to the ground because they're both legit on the ground. I'm not going to take anything away from Benil. He's legit on the ground. But if they do stand, I'd take Money's striking. I think he's the better striker, the more powerful striker at that too. So at that point in time, I'm riding the money train, baby. Give me Money Moicano. They're both minus 110 here. So,
yeah, and I also wonder if Dariush, now that Islam is gone, he might see a clearer path to the title. But at the same time, I'm playing a little revisionist history because, like, if you would have asked me who I'd want Dariush or who I would want Islam to fight 2 years ago, my answer would have been Dariush. But you know what happened? Charles Oliveira happened. So, I don't mean to count Dariush out, but it should be a very interesting fight for sure.
Yeah. And really, like, I mean, Dariush, his last 3 wins, decision, then his 2 losses here, TKO to Armin and Charles. So maybe he's getting a little chinny here.
That Armin one that's when he punched the fan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was a brutal, yeah. Whew.
No, he punched the fan at UFC 300 when he fought Charles.
Oh, yeah. My damn Apex brain can't keep track of him.
So he hasn't, we haven't seen Benny fight since December 22nd, 2023.
Yeah, because he didn't get a fight.
In 24.
He didn't get a new opponent when he lost Moicano.
Yeah.
But, those guys, I kind of always have the thinking of it probably helps them a little bit,
Yeah.
I don't think Dariush is much more like, look at Usman. He was out for years and his timing and everything was still right there. So I kind of view Dariush in the same light.
Yeah. Benny, he says Benny's been KO'd 5 times in 2 of those last 3 fights. Exactly, Mike. So I'm right there with you. He says UFC India YouTube put up the Topuria versus Herbert full fight today. So you can check that out. After you watch this, let's get into.
Is he serious? They actually did that?
Yeah. So let's get into the next fight. Is supposed to be Brandon Royval, the Raw Dog, versus what's his name?
Manel Kipe.
Yeah, versus Kipe. And instead, Kipe pulls out, and in steps Joshua Van. And the guy was just on the last pay-per-view. Here he is again, taking on his toughest competition. This fight is Van is actually the favorite at minus 120, 14-2. Royval 17-7. He's become the kind of the gatekeeper here at flyweight. He did say like this, like I got to get a title shot after this, or I'm probably going to move up. I saw that in an interview because he said 135 guys, I don't have to cut weight, and they make more money. So good for him for realizing that. But he wins this fight, he might be. Man, this flyweight's getting tough here. He could be right there. Royval's been well since he's won 2 in a row since that Pantoja fight. Remember, he did beat Moreno and Tayara both by split decision, so he's got 2 wins over there. So if he wins this fight, he might be right there. But he is taking on the forever game, Joshua Van. Super active. I mean, we just saw this guy last month TKO somebody, Silva, as bad as it gets. Bobby, your thoughts here? Van versus the Raw Dog.
I mean, this might be the fight I'm looking forward to most on the card, aside from the main event. And don't want to sell the co-main short either. But I've had this circled from the second they announced it. I do think in the back of my head, because I know Van has been very active, and I am kind of wondering, is this a little bit too much activity?
Too much too soon, maybe.
Yeah, and especially with that much of a jump, but he is at 11, so is Royval 1 or?
I think he's. Let me look it up. I got the. I think he is like 1 or 2.
Yeah, I know he's at the very top, and he is very experienced with kind of the 5-round aspect. I understand this fight is 3, but he definitely has the experience.
He's 1. Royval's 1.
Mm-hmm. And I don't expect Royval to, do too much wrestling or anything. We know Royval's style. The thing that's always impressed me most about Joshua Van is his willingness to get up if he's taken back down. Like, he does not accept any position, and most of the time he's trying to move forward there. And the only thing that really has me going back and forth with it, like, if this was a full camp, I'd probably pretty confidently be picking Van. But at the same time, and I know you probably got the dog mask hiding there ready, so I won't spoil your thunder there. But I don't know. It's this one will definitely be more vibes than breakdown, but I am not getting off the Joshua Van train. And I expect him to, Pantoja already said he's looking forward to fighting him. And that is undoubtedly what would be next for Van. He would be set up for a title shot.
Yeah, he'd be the number 1 contender. You'd be next, yeah.
Yeah, but, I did not think Van would get to the top this quickly. It's because of circumstances, obviously, but we know how insane the flyweight division is. But I don't know. I don't think he's going to really balk in the moment. We've seen him lose before and come back better from that loss. So I expect him to have plenty of success. But, Royval is a dangerous motherfucker, and he has been set up in these scenarios to be passed over before, and he has said absolutely not.
Yeah, his last fight, his very last fight. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I probably should be leaning towards Royval, but fuck that. We ain't playing it safe. Joshua Van, hype train all the way. Let's keep it going and secure that title shot.
Yeah, real quick, Rob's got this. Rob makes a good point here. Not only is this huge step up for Van, the making weight and peaking physically again so soon is very difficult. He's got 2 opponents that night. That's true, man. Like, you're asking a guy to make and luckily he's young. I think if he's 23 years old, so I think he can do that more so than an older guy, maybe even more like Royval's 32. So they're almost a decade apart here. So like, I think he'll be fine as far as that point, but you make a great point, Rob, is just as far as like, that's a tough cut, like, for anybody to get to 125 and do it and peak right at the right moment. But because he's so young, I think he can do it a little bit easier than, say, somebody who's older. And he's been active. God, he's been active, the kid. I do love this Josh Van kid. He's so good, Bobby. Here's one thing I am worried about Royval. The reason, remember, him and Cape were supposed to fight previously, and he pulled out. It's supposed to be like a main event Apex type, I believe. And he pulled out due to, he got a concussion. And I always worry about these concussions. Like, is that gonna linger? He couldn't train, and that was not that long ago, like just, within 6 months. So It's not like we're talking a year or so where he had this concussion. He got the concussion in training, and then he said it lingered and lingered, and then finally had to pull out of the fight. So I do worry about Raw Dog as far as this concussion, because we know those things. You just never know until you get hit again. You know what I mean? Until those things happen, you just don't know. And we know Van can put people's lights out. We just saw it last month. But you called it, Bobby. You've been doing the show a little too long. It is my dog on the card. It is none other than Raw Dog, baby. Ooh, baby, I like it raw. Ooh, baby, I like it raw. Give it up for Raw Dog Royval, my dog on the card, baby. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was even more of like when this fight opened, I think Van was like a minus 200. And obviously everyone jumped on that and almost took all the value out of it. But at the same time, if you can still get him at plus money, I completely understand it from a betting perspective.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's what it's just too. If you can get him if you got him at plus money, to me you got to take it. But yeah, I like Royval, but I'm really concerned about this concussion situation. So let's move into the co-main event. I always like to say he's your favorite fighter, Bobby, and that is none other than the flyweight champion Alexander Pantoja. I think maybe the most disrespected champion in the UFC right now.
100%.
I will say that. He's your guy though, and he's taking on Kaikar France. People are talking about. We were talking about earlier. We're talking about Cyril Gane maybe not getting a deserving title shot. Does Kaikar France? Like, let's ask that question. Is it just because nobody's left? Like, he's lost 2 out of his last 3. He lost to Moreno Albazi, and then he did beat Steve Herseg back in August of last year. But, like, what is he? You know what I mean? Like, his resume's not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not
really deserving.
I'm not particularly mad at it from the aspect of he didn't just beat Herseg, he knocked him out cold.
Yeah.
In a fight that he was a heavy underdog on, and everyone was all in on Herseg. I think I picked Herseg on that. Pantoja is at this point with his success that he's going to start doing rematches until we get fresher blood in the division. And that's kind of why I got, Van circled, and I'm sure Pantoja will be rooting for Van on Saturday. But, Kai has fought for the title before.
He fought for the interim.
Yeah, I mean, tomato. They put him in 5 rounds. If he would have won, he would have got it. But, Moreno was able to get it done. And, I'm not really that upset about it because, like, stylistically, I think the fight will still be very entertaining. Like, Kai is a big flyweight. He cuts a lot of weight. And I know Pantoja isn't just going to try to grapple him. He is going to try to exchange with him in the striking too, which will kind of always leave, that live dog aspect open for Kai. But, I mean, you kind of led with it. Pantoja is by far the most disrespected champion in the sport.
He's getting that Mighty Mouse treatment. If they start putting him on the Apex and he's holding up title fights, we know that he's getting the Mighty Mouse treatment.
Yeah. And, it's I do think this fight is going to be competitive and enjoyable.
Exactly, Rob.
But I really just do not see a circumstance where Pantoja does not get his hand raised in this fight. And, I've kind of gone back with it back and forth. Like, hey, can he catch Pantoja, Kai that being, and I'm assuming that is how he is going to have to win with some type of TKO or knockout. I don't really see him having a chance in hell of winning a 5-round decision. But, what the hell do I know? I picked Jamal Hill last week. So, I mean, it's not like, I have all the answers in the world.
Yeah.
But realistically, I just think Pantoja is going to be in that conversation. I mean, if we look at the pound for pound, he's already being disrespected there. My pound for pound, I have him like top 5 above. So, I expect him to kind of turn in I want to call it vintage Pantoja performance of this, where, he puts some risk in it and he still ends up getting a decision. But at the same time, I think he's going to be able to implement his grappling enough to be able to submit Kai. And I probably would have to lean submission towards Pantoja there.
Yeah, I think the one thing, to me, Pantoja is getting better and better. Like, I just think every time out, he's getting better and better. And he proved that in his last fight. He's proved it time and time again. I saw what Cross said. Cross said, well, KKF beat, I'm not doing MMA math like that. Like,
and not to cut you off, Pantoja already has beaten him in the Ultimate Fighter. So, I mean, though that isn't sanctioned, that does count for something. And like you said, Pantoja is getting better.
Yeah, he is. I think we're in a long reign. I don't know if we're DJ reign here, but I mean, Pantoja's getting there. This 125 division is interesting. There's a lot of names. Some of those names are the repeated names, but those guys are so good. Like Royval, like Moreno, and Pantoja's beat them all. And Kai Kara-France has always been right around there, and he's finally getting his title shot. I'm with you. I like it. Still UFC flyweight champion of the world, Alexandre Pantoja. Bobby, let's get to the main event. It is for the vacant lightweight championship. As we know, Islam vacated about 2 months ago time to move up to welterweight. And it is now will be the former lightweight champion in Charles Oliveira taking on the former featherweight champion Ilia Topuria. To get you the odds here real quick, Ilia is a heavy favorite. He is 16-0. He's minus 500. But you know what? Charles Oliveira is plus 350, and to me that he's live. Like, I really do. He has fought the who's who in this division, the best of the best. I put that run that he went on when he was champion, where he beat Tony Ferguson, then he beat Michael Chandler, and then he beat Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje. Like, he beat them all and finished them all. I didn't finish Tony, but he damn near did. Like, beat them all and finished them all. Like, that run of where he faced all them killers proved that he belongs. He is a future UFC Hall of Famer. And to me, at plus 350 is a spit in the face to Do Bronx. And I put some money on him because I think he can win.
Yeah. You're probably right. But
I know you love Ilia Topuria. I know that's your guy.
I understand the line. Like, I understand it.
I understand the line. I understand what, like, we're talking about a guy who's undefeated. The last 2 times out, he beat 2 GOATs, two of the best of all time. And Max Holloway and Volkanovski, like, and it wasn't even close. They didn't even see like a third round, I don't think. Like, Volk, was in the first or second? Max, same thing. Like, he knocked out a guy who's never been knocked out. Now, this is a little bit different weight class, though. And one thing that that everybody says, like you hear interviews with Dustin, you hear interviews with Justin. The guy who hits the hardest is Charles Oliveira.
Yeah, and I'm in no way trying. Like, if we weren't getting Islam versus Ilya, this is easily the fight to make at 155. I mean, it's not only does Bronx deserve another shot at the title, I'm kind of glad it played out this way for him because he does have that opportunity to win the title again. And
and this is his last opportunity, right? I mean, he's 35 years old. He's long in the tooth. This is his last opportunity to regain it.
Could be. I mean, he's such a star from that aspect. I could completely see them, going that route again. But, like I've really heard it all. Like Ilya's power will not transfer. That's fair. I think that is simplifying it way too much, honestly. I do understand the size discrepancy, but that's not really bothering me on the feet. I think the size discrepancy will be more if it goes to the ground. Oliveira will be much more live to be able to submit to Poirier, especially if he's in that top position. That could definitely be rough. So, the Michael Chandler fight, though, like I intentionally did not watch that fight when I broke this down. I'm obviously talking about the rematch. And, maybe you could say Oliveira fought composed and, he was looking out for that one shot. So maybe he's going to apply that to some of this fight and hope to, drag Ilya to the later rounds. That could be an option there. Maybe he's going to work to Poirier in the body a little bit. I think his best chance on the feet would probably be in the clinch. That's another thing where you could see kind of the size discrepancy. Oliveira could, throw a knee. So I'm totally not ruling any of that out. If you're betting on it, I implore you to wait until they're making the cage walk to bet, because that number is just going to keep growing. It's not going to get any smaller. And the one thing I find very interesting about all this, and I'm never going to tell anyone how to fan, but you see a lot of people, rightfully so, that have been turned off by Ilya because they think, he was disrespecting Islam in the way he was talking to him. That's completely fair. If you want to have that perspective, I won't halt you for it. But why is the line still like that? Why are all these people that I've seen that are saying it's going to be Do Bronx no matter what, why haven't you sprinkled a little bit on the money line? I mean, I would expect it to close a little. And hey, maybe Vegas is dumping money back into Ilya to keep that price set. I would not rule that out at all. But I don't know. Like, Oliveira literally says, I am going to walk forward. And that's always how he fights. And I just don't see, like, Oliveira's best chance in this is to make it a nasty fight, make it ugly, and get in Ilya's face. That's pretty dangerous, in my opinion.
It is dangerous.
Like, and like, you go back to the Max fight. Max was having a lot of success in that fight until he wasn't. Volk was having a lot of success in that fight until he wasn't, and he couldn't get backed off the cage. I think Oliveira's best chance is to circle away from the fence and try to stay off it. And, I would love more than anyone to witness that moment for Charles Oliveira again, to finally recapture the title when it was unceremoniously stripped away from him for a bullshit half a pound that a guy doesn't even know how to operate the scale. I get all that. But I also believe that Ilya Topuria is the new breed of MMA fighting. He has it all. He has the striking, he can grapple, and really the only thing that gives me second guessing in this is the size. But I'm not going to doubt this man until he gives me a reason to doubt him. And I will say a lot. I do wonder if he's bitten off more than he can chew than what he was saying and stuff. And now all of a sudden that's fight week, he's being a lot nicer how he's talking about Islam and stuff. Maybe he's, having some buyer remorse on those comments. But I'm sorry, I only see it going one way, and that is with. Let's read Cross's comment real quick.
So Cross says he was picking Charles until he rewatched the Islam Charles, then he switched to Ilya, is what he said. So
smart man, and I know Cross doesn't like. There's no thing that would get him to pick a fighter that I have in fantasy MMA.
Yeah,
so
none
he's prioritizing those tap picks. You're a smart man for it. What do we got here?
He says Charles gets hit and Ilya drops fucking hammer. That's true. Like Charles saying like, "Hey, I'm going to march forward." I don't know if Ilya's a guy you want to march forward against.
And granted, like Charles's best chance might be once he gets dropped to try to, get a hold of a leg or try to grapple, but you're just playing with a dangerous proposition there. Like, is Ilya just going to continue to drop Charles and let him back up? But, I've babbled long enough on this. Long story short, I do think Ilya's power will transfer. And if Oliveira is just walking forward, I'm not going to be as bold as Ilya saying he'll get him out of there in the first round. But I think within the first 3 rounds, we will get a finish. So I will be going with new Ilya Topuria.
Yeah, I couldn't remember that how that Islam fight went. I knew he lost, but it was a second round sub. He lost.
Islam was piecing him up on the feet though as well.
Yeah, man, this fight. I think the difference is Islam's a bigger 155 than, you know what I mean? Like he, and Charles is, this fight is interesting. I want to know if Charles has still got it. I mean, he lost that very close fight. I thought he almost won the fight against Arman way back at UFC. Like I think it was UFC 300, to be honest. But man, it's just like Ilya is that dude. Like, and I've probably picked against him, and every day I picked him against Max. I picked against him against Volk.
You came around for the Max one. I
can't remember.
I was surprised. I thought I was going to be on, on the island.
Oh, that's right. Because I said I don't like when somebody's trying to go back down. I think that when you go up and then try to go back down, I think that's when you get fucked around with. Ilya moving up here at 155. He looks bigger. He looks healthy. Charles is pretty big as well. We know the weight cuts are tough for him. I mean, we see all the videos of all the guys like, surrounding him and just like, you mentioned the half a pound miss with the Gaethje fight. We know a couple things are going to happen. This is what I do know. I do believe Charles will probably get dropped. Ilya will probably drop him because everybody's dropped Charles, but usually he bounces back up or he does something crazy, gets you in trouble. He kind of beat up Chandler those 3 rounds or 4 rounds, and then Chandler did have the crazy 5th round where he kind of walked around, with Charles on his back and did some silly stuff. But that being said, I am going to be rooting for Charles Oliveira because I just think he's one of the best people in this sport. I love his story. I love the way he fights. I just everything that he represents. But with that being said, Father Time also waits for no man, and it is the and new UFC champion of the world, Ilya the Matador Topuria, baby.
And I didn't mention, you're spotting him 10 pounds, and I think that's huge because, like, the main reason he left was because of the weight cutting. So if anything, I'm very excited to see what, Ilya we're getting at 155.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens. It'll be interesting. What if Ilya loses? That's what I always question. Like, hey, what's this guy? Is he going to stay at 155 if he loses? I always question. Like, I always think about things like that. Like, what's going to be next if he loses? If he wins, great. If he loses, what happens?
I think there are enough names to make it compelling for him, and like Islam, I don't see them going back down to their weight. So I would, if that happens, I would still. There's enough exciting fights at 55 to keep him around. But hey, I'll play with some house money and have him go down to 45 again. But I just really don't see it.
Yeah. Real quick, this just came across the wire while we were on air. It has been official. Featherweight champion, a featherweight fight. It'll be the co-main event at in Shanghai, where the main event's Johnny Walker. This makes no sense to me, Bobby. So the main event in Shanghai is Johnny Walker versus Zhang Mingang, right? That's guess what the co-main event just got announced to this fight. It is none other than Brian Ortega versus Aljamain Sterling. I feel like that should be flipped around.
Yeah, well, it sounds like Johnny Walker's fighting someone that's Chinese, right?
Huh? Yeah.
I mean
the big Chinese guy that pieced up.
Yeah. No, I mean that's a pretty dope fight. Sterling and Ortega, and I think. Wait a minute. Does that? Wow. That means Ortega's staying at 45, though.
Yeah, remember there's reports he was going to be at 155 at one time.
Who reported that? Marcel or the UFC announced it?
The UFC, MMA Junkie.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that fight will get me to wake up at 3 a.m. to watch it. Because, if it's in China, that'll probably be when it is. But, yeah, I'm not mad at that at all. I know Aljo's been waiting for a fight, and I think that one makes sense to him because, Ortega has exciting enough style to where, that should be pretty decent. But I completely agree with you. I wish it was 5 rounds. That deserves to be the main. Who knows? Maybe they'll swap it, but most likely they'll probably just go with Walker and Homeboy.
That's interesting. I like that. That's good matchmaking, though. Like two veterans. I know both kind of riding around the title fight there in the 145 division.
My only question would be, what do you do with the winner of that fight? Because I feel like the main reason they've gotten matched, though I love the fight, is they don't know what the hell to do with either guy. So I know I'm thinking way down the road, but
winner can fight the loser of Ortega Silva.
Yeah, or they could fight Yair Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Get Ortega rematch.
I need the UFC to fix their fucking rankings. Will they fix this? Do you think after this week they'll fix it? The one that bothers me is the featherweight. Like, they still got Max Holloway as number 1. They still got Ilya at number 3. Get them out of the rankings. Get them out of the
well, they'll probably do it like the second the fight starts.
Pull Ilya out. And then we got to wait till Max fights next month against Dustin.
I think Max is solely up there just to sell that pay-per-view. Like, that's why they don't want to, because unless he's ranked at lightweight, which he very well could be.
Max is ranked at lightweight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then that is just fucking stupid. But this is the same company that had John Jones in the rankings for the last year. So
well, they finally took him out, Bobby. They finally took him out.
Yeah, because they were forced to. Dog shit.
Rob's right here that they want a KO highlight for a Chinese fighter, and Walker's the guy to deliver. He'll just fall back like this.
Thank you for saying it, Rob. You are correct.
Yeah. Bobby, you got anything else before we get out of here?
No, I think that about does it. I don't know if there's a pretty decent PFL on last weekend or on last Friday. So, they connected with that. I don't know what they're doing next off the top of my head. There might be something
Chicago,
this week.
They were in Chicago promoting stuff.
Don Davis. Yeah, no, they're at Chicago. So that one should be good. And
Don Davis said we used to work for the Cubs, so there's that.
Yeah, and there is some boxing on this weekend too.
I have to ask him.
But I'm mainly just going to be locked in to that fight card on Saturday. I'm extremely excited for it. I've been waiting to see Ilya at 155 for quite a while now, ever since he vacated. So, let's enough talking. Let's see it.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate it, Bobby G. Appreciate everybody commenting, like, subscribe. Rob says BKFC in the UK. Always love the BKFC.
Good shout. I knew I was forgetting something.
So
yeah, and I think that's on Saturday, or it might be on Friday. Either way, I will be seated and watching that.
Always, William. Cheers, boys. Thanks for having me. Enjoy the fights. May your bets cash. So be a friend, tell a friend, folks. Like, subscribe, share. We appreciate all the comments. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Thank you. It means a lot. So thanks to everybody. Catch you all next week. We'll be right back here at 8 o'clock Central, 9 Eastern for another episode of Headkicks Haymakers. We'll talk about all this card and everything else throughout the week. Appreciate everybody. Have a great weekend and enjoy International Fight Week. So see you then.
Thanks so much for joining us, and until next time, let's talk sport, friends. Thanks for watching.